Very good morning, dear students. The next topic mentioned in the unit nucleic acid, unit number 5, covalent structures of RNA and DNA. So, in this particular class, we are going to discuss the major covalent interactions that is stabilized by the nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. Along with the major covalent interactions, we will discuss what are the major forces that stabilizes the nucleic acid structure. So, we will discuss what are covalent structures. So, covalent structures are the biomolecule which are stabilized by mainly covalent interactions or covalent bond. And you can see here the DNA double helix. We will discuss the structure in detail in the next class. It is a typical spiral helical ladder like structure. You can see a very strong sugar phosphate backbone. One is oriented to 5' to 3' direction, and the next is just opposite and 3' to 5' direction. And this is a sugar phosphate backbone, and these two backbones are connected by the nitrogenous bases, okay, which are purines and pyrimidines. And purines are adenine and guanine, and pyrimidines are thymine and cytosine in the case of DNA. And the pairing between these two structures, the adenine and thymine, are known as base pairing, okay. And this DNA is stabilized by mainly different types of interaction. Not only DNA, the RNA, as mentioned in the syllabus, RNA also stabilized by various types of interaction. Mainly the major covalent interaction, that is the interaction formed in the sugar phosphate backbone. And in general, please don't confuse, we are in the syllabus they have mentioned covalent structures, but we are going to discuss all the major forces that stabilized by the DNA and RNA, okay. That includes the sugar phosphate backbone, okay. The interaction, the covalent interaction is stabilized by the sugar phosphate backbone, and other strong bond and a weaker bond, okay. The strong interactions are, there are two types of interaction. Generally, the DNA is stabilized by four main types of interaction. Two interactions are comes under strong interaction, and two interactions are comes under weak interactions. And the strong interactions are, as the name indicates, they are strong and they give the stability to the DNA structure substantially by shared form of the the electrons, okay. So that is not a strong interaction, okay, either in the formation of in the linkages commonly sharing, okay, and such as oxygen, etc., okay. And the next the strong interactions are mainly, there are two types. One is phosphodiester interaction, phosphodiester bond. Next one is glycosidic linkage, okay. Then the weak interactions are, one is hydrogen bonding, next one is base stacking interactions, okay. All those interactions are commonly stabilized by the DNA double helix. So we are going to discuss in detail about this first interaction, which is the major covalent interaction that produces the covalent structures of the DNA, and then we will discuss briefly about the other three interactions, okay. Then, as you all know, the backbone of DNA and RNA, it is stabilized by, as I said, this is the major backbone. This is RNA sugar phosphate backbone. This is ribonucleic acid, you know, that is single stranded, okay. That is the sugar phosphate backbone, and there you can see the nitrogenous bases also, okay. But in the case of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, you can see they are a double helical, double stranded molecule. Okay, they are double stranded molecule. Okay, here you can see one strand orient in one direction, next strand is orient to the other direction, and the turning is known as the helix of the sugar phosphate backbone. And here these two backbones are connected, the strands are connected by the base pairs that is produced by the nitrogenous bases. And in the case of DNA, the major nitrogenous bases we have discussed, that is the nucleotide bases of in the case of DNA are the cytosine, guanine, adenine and thymine. Okay, ATGC. Okay, but in the case of RNA, this one, the RNA is single stranded and the major nitrogenous bases stabilized in the structures are the cytosine, guanine, adenine and uracil. Instead of thymine, in the case of RNA, that is uracil. Here AUGC. Okay, here it is ATGC. Okay, so now how these backbones are stabilized. Okay, I told you there are 4 different types of interactions are stabilizing. Number 1, the first interaction, the interaction between the sugar and the phosphate, major covalent interaction, that is known as phosphodiester bond. Okay, then the second one is the interaction between the sugar and the nitrogenous bases that is attached on the phosphate backbone. Okay, that is known as glycosidic linkage. Okay, then the third one is the double stranded, that is stabilized by the nitrogen bases. Okay, the nitrogen bases, the pairing of different nitrogen bases such as purines and pyrimidines via hydrogen bonding. Okay, that is hydrogen bonding. And the fourth one is, this again a weak interaction, the interaction of a nitrogenous bases from one particular strand, okay, one base pair, and the interaction of nitrogenous base with the other strand, the other pair that is just beneath the first one. Okay, that is known as a base stacking. So these are the 4 major types of interaction that is commonly stabilized by DNA double helix. Okay, then the first one is the major one, the important one are 3 types. One is, as I said, the backbone. Okay, this is the, you can see this is the backbone. One is oriented to 5' to 3' direction. This is your sugar, this is your phosphate, and this is your sugar. You know that the phosphates are projected outwards, that is PO minus, double bond O minus and O minus. Okay, so you will be having negatively charged. Okay, and the interaction between this phosphate and this sugar, okay, is known as phosphodiester bond. Then you can see here, you can see the sugar, 5-membered sugar. In the case of DNA, it is deoxyribose, but in the case of RNA, it is ribose. Okay, how it is connected to the phosphate? This is connected by a phosphodiester bond. Then similarly, one strand you can see like this. Similarly, you can see the opposite strand, 3' to 5' direction, the same thing. This is phosphate and these are sugar phosphate backbone, which are stabilized by phosphodiester bond, a major covalent bond. Then here you can see, in addition to this one, you can see the sugar is directly connected with the nitrogenous bases. This is purines, a 6-membered ring. You can see this thymine, and this is a 2 heterocyclic molecule, a pyrimidine and an imidazole ring, a purine. This is pyrimidine and this is purine. Okay, and here you can see this is connected by this sugar and this nitrogenous base. This sugar hold this nitrogenous base to the sugar phosphate backbone by this bond. Okay, that is known as glycosidic linkage. Okay, that is glycosidic linkage. This is the second type of linkage. Here you can see T, it is connected to guanine. Okay, here it is connected to adenine, here it is connected to cytosine. Similarly, in this strand which are quite opposite to this, okay, this is connected by adenine, and this sugar is connected by cytosine. This sugar is connected by thiamine, and this sugar is connected by connected to adenine, guanine by this bond. Okay, this is a glycosidic linkage. Then how these two strands are united together? Okay, here you can see that is by means of the next interaction called hydrogen bonding. Okay, here you can see this is in this particular strand, this is adenine, that is a purine, and here you can see thiamine in this particular strand, that is a pyrimidine. Okay, and you can see the dotted line, this indicate the hydrogen bond. Okay, adenine paired with the thiamine by 2 hydrogen bond. Similarly, guanine paired with the cytosine by 3 hydrogen bond. Dotted line you can see 3 hydrogen bond. Okay, and here you can see adenine and thiamine. Okay, this is thiamine and adenine, 2 hydrogen bond. This is cytosine and guanine, 2 hydrogen bond, just opposite to this. And these are bases, and the bases are connected by hydrogen bond. So this is the backbone structure of important DNA. And what is this base stacking? Here you can see this is the nitrogenous base. Just below you can see this nitrogenous base, and the interaction between these two nitrogenous base are known as a base stacking. They are very weak interaction. Okay, that is due to the presence of nitrogen and due to the presence of lone pair in the nitrogen, and that is the reason why DNA appeared as a typical helical like structure. The reason is a base stacking properties. Okay, and the bases are connected by hydrogen bond. Okay, then now we are going to discuss the first topic, covalent bond in the DNA. Okay, the covalent bond, as I said, what is covalent bond? This one. Okay, this is known as the covalent bond here. This is known as the covalent bond here. Okay, that is what you can see clearly here. Okay, this is the 5' end and this is the 3' end. Okay, so here you can see the C, this is C3. Okay, this is C3 linked hydroxyl group. Okay, in the position, the sugar, they are having a hydroxyl group in the C3 position, and that C3 position has a hydroxyl group, and here you can see the fourth one. Okay, here you can see another hydroxyl group. Okay, and there is an interaction. Okay, interaction here it is the interaction between third one and the fifth one, as I discussed. Okay, so here C3 on the one nucleotide and C5 on the other nucleotide interacted to form a strong rigid covalent bond called phosphodiester bond. Okay, that is what I told you. Each nucleotide is linked to next by covalent bond between the phosphate and the sugar. Okay, so between the C3 and C4 is there, and C2H2OH. Okay, in that C2H2OH, the fifth one, and the hydroxyl group is interacted with the phosphate. Okay, so that is the bond, and there is a formation of a strong bond. Okay, that is known as a phosphodiester bond. Okay, and if the DNA is stabilized by this type of structures are known as covalent structures of a nucleotide. If that is stabilized by, if it's only one strand, you can see that is a single strand, and if it is two strand, you can see that that is a double strand. Then we are going to discuss in detail about phosphodiester bond. Okay, as I said, phosphodiester bond is a strong covalent bond. The two of the hydroxyl group in the phosphoric acid react with the hydroxyl group on the sugar molecule to form two ester bond, and that is known as a phosphodiester bond. Okay, that is known as phosphodiester bond. Then it is an ester bond. Then it is the central to all the life on the earth, as they make up the backbone of the strand of nucleic acid, both the DNA and RNA. In both DNA and RNA, the phosphodiester bond is produced. It's a linkage between C3 carbon atom of one sugar molecule and the 5' carbon atom of the other sugar, the hydroxy group of other sugar molecule, and that is in the case of deoxyribose. Okay, and with the of atom of another sugar, that is, if it is a deoxyribose, then it is DNA, then the sugar is ribose, then it is a RNA. So that is what I told you. This is C3, This is C4 and here it is C5. Okay, the C3 and C5 are always forming a phosphodiester bond with the phosphate. Okay, and this is a strong covalent bond formed between the phosphate group and a 2 5 carbon ring, that is a sugar, which is a pentose sugar. You know that this is a 5 carbon sugar, pentose sugar. Okay, over 2 ester bond. Okay, one is here, another one is here, over 2 ester bond. Okay, and this pentose groups in the phosphodiester bonds are negatively charged. As I said, the reason is here you can see the outermost projection. These are phosphate we have seen, they have a lot of oxygen towards outside, the negatively charged electronegative oxygen, thus it is negatively in a charge. Okay, so this is the brief overview of phosphodiester bond. Now we will see how it is happening, the formation of the phosphodiester bond. Here you can see this is what is the sugar. This is the first position. Here you can see the nitrogenous base. Okay, this is glycosidic linkage, and here you can see C1, C2, C3, C4 and C5. Okay, as I said, you can see this is the nucleotide. Okay, so this nucleotide in the C3 position of one nucleotide will be interacted with this one. Okay, here you can see this is interact the C3 end will be interacted with in this second nucleotide there is a sugar. Here you can see C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. In C5 you can see CH2OH. Okay, and you can see how it is happening. This phosphate group is attached here. Okay, phosphate group is attached here, and you can see, and this is P double bond O minus, and here you can see the hydroxyl group, and the third position there is hydroxyl group. In the P, the CH2, in the fifth position the hydroxyl group is attached along with the P. Okay, and here you can see this hydroxyl group and this hydroxyl group will undergo condensation reaction, removal of a molecule of water will take place, H plus plus OH minus. Then what will happen? This O will be comes here and commonly sharing with this phosphate. Okay, so then this is known as a phosphodiester linkage. Okay, so this is the first one, phosphodiester linkage will be produced. Okay, and this one phosphodiester linkage is produced, and this one will be interacted with the next one. Okay, then this one will be interacted with the next one, and this one will be interacted with the next one. Okay, and so on. Okay, so this is the other important things. Okay, so and this bond is known as a phosphodiester bond. Okay, so that is the way how phosphodiester bond is produced, and like that it will create a sugar phosphate backbone. This is sugar and this is phosphate, this is sugar, this is phosphate, and that is known as a sugar phosphate backbone. Then, as I said, the linkage between sugar and a nitrogenous base, this another important strong bond. Okay, that is known as a glycosidic linkage. That one also comes under a covalent linkage, glycosidic linkage. Okay, and this one you can see here, you can see the sugar, how it is produced. This is the sugar, C1, C2, C3, C4 and C5. Okay, so in this particular sugar you can see, here you can see the C1. Okay, the C1, this is the C1. Here you can see hydroxyl group. Okay, and here you can see a purine. Okay, this is a pyrimidine ring, and there is an imidazole ring. This NH2 residue. Okay, and here in the nitrogen you can see there is an H, and here there is hydroxyl group. Okay, in the C1 position, so what will happen? There is a hydrogen and oxygen will be combined to form this again a condensation reaction. Here there is a water will be removed, and the water removal will be add this nitrogen carbon bond. Okay, here you can see this is known as beta glycosidic linkage. Okay, beta glycosidic linkage, and here you can see this is beta glycosidic linkage. Okay, and this is sugar, and this is the nitrogenous base. Okay, and here the water molecules, which includes the hydroxyl group of deoxyribose sugar. I am talking about the RNA, sorry, DNA, it is the sugar is deoxyribose. Okay, in the second position there is a oxygen is not there. If it is a RNA, the hydroxyl group will be here. Okay, and then the hydrogen associated with the N9 nitrogen of the purine. This is what the ninth position. Okay, the N9 nitrogen of purine or N1 atom of a pyrimidine. If it is this one, it will be N1, and if it is purine, the glycosidic linkage is formed between N1. Okay, that is why the formation of a glycosidic linkage takes place. Why it is known as beta? Because the hydroxyl group is in the right hand side here, the top. Okay, the bond is here. That is why it is known as a beta. If it would have been here, then it would have been told alpha. Here it is beta. This is alpha position. Okay, so that is the glycosidic linkage. Then this glycosidic linkage, it is a rotatable bond. It's very, very important. They can rotate this chain with this axis. Okay, this C and N like that you can rotate. Okay, and rotate like this and rotate like this. Okay, one conformation is known as syn conformation, and it produces two types of rotational isomers to the DNA. Okay, and they will be able to produce rotational isomers. One is known as syn conformation, next one is known as anti conformation. Okay, due to the rotation. So what is happening here? This is the sugar, and this is the purine. Okay, here you can see the adenine, and it is interacted with the N9 to the C1 N9 bond is produced. That is glycosidic linkage. Then if the sugar is placed like this, and the pyrimidine residues, the nitrogenous base, are sitting just opposite to the just on the top. They are sitting the same side. Okay, just one below the another. That is known as a syn conformation. Okay, so this is sugar and this is the nitrogenous base. Both of them are in the same orientation and they are in the same side. Okay, that is known as one below the another. Okay, that is known as syn. Okay, this is known as syn conformation. But what will happen? This bond, if it is rotated, what will happen? Imagine this will rotate and this will turn. This will turn from this angle and it will turn and it will go the other side. Okay, like this. Okay, the rotation will be like this, and what will happen? You will get the same structure is here, that is here, but this, due to this rotation, this residues has got changed here. Here we can see this is the pyrimidine ring is just opposite to the ribose sugar. Here the pyrimidine rings and ribose sugar just below one another, but this is just opposite to the pyrimidine ring. Okay, due to this particular rotation. So this is rotated and shifted to this direction. Okay, and it came here. Okay, that is known as anti-conformation. Okay, and this rotation is known as rotational isomers that is produced in the DNA and RNA. Okay, and these are the very, very important concept. Okay, and generally the anti is more stable than syn, because if both the things are on the same side, you can see here nitrogen is there, oxygen is there, there is automatically there is a high amount of interactions. Okay, high amount of interactions. Okay, and they will be able to, they are not stable that level. Okay, there will be the interactions and there will be steric issues. Okay, and this interactions will be not forward, and they don't try to be there with the syn conformation. But in the case of anti, here the nitrogen is the way and oxygen is in this side. Okay, both of them are typical opposite side. Okay, so that is why there is no problem, there is no issues, there is no steric clashes. Okay, or there is no interactions. So this will be free to perform their functions, and that is why it is known as anti-form. Okay, so I hope you understood what is syn and what is anti, a conformation of glycosidic linkage isomers in the nucleotides. Okay, then what are the next one is the first two are the strong interactions, the next one is the weaker interaction. The major weak interaction are hydrogen bond. Okay, the hydrogen bond actually that is a that is a non-covalent interaction. What is a non-covalent interaction? It is an interaction where no exchange or sharing of electron in the hydrogen bond as seen in the covalent bond or ionic bond. Okay, so there is no exchange or sharing of a electron in the as we have seen in the covalent bond. Okay, the hydrogen bond occur over short distance, and they can be easily formed and be broken. They can come and interact together very easily, and they can broken very easily. Okay, and compared to the covalent linkage, this is very weak interaction. Hydrogen bond is much weaker than the covalent interaction. Okay, they can stabilize the double helix because of their large number. There are a lot of hydrogen bonds are produced in a DNA double helix. Although these hydrogen bonds are very weak, once they forms together, they will be able to stabilize the double helix. Okay, but these hydrogen bonds are weaker than the covalent bonds. Okay, the another important one is the sharing. Okay, they are very specific. The bonding is very specific. Okay, that is specific. The adenine always pairs with the thymine. Adenine of one strand in the DNA will be always pairs with the thymine with the other strand. Okay, generally purines are paired. Purines of one strand will be paired with the pyrimidines of the other complementary strand. Okay, and vice versa. Okay, and here adenine pair with thymine and cytosine pairs with the guanine, and this selective pairing is known as a complementary base pairing. Okay, complementary base pairing. Okay, and there is a base pairing principle we will discuss. The total concentration of adenine and purines and pyrimidines in a DNA helix, that will be almost equal. Okay, so and you will be able to say A plus T is equal to G plus C. Okay, and this particular rule is known as Chargaff rule of equivalence, that is proposed by Dr. Erwin Chargaff. We will discuss in the next class when we discuss about the DNA double helix. Okay, so that is the complementary, and this is the there is a complementary one basis. The nitrogenous base of one base is complementary to the next base. Okay, as you know that the one base is oriented to 3' to 5' direction. The opposite strand is a complementary strand, that is 3' to 5' direction. Okay, and the adenine and the thymine will be pairing by the formation of 2 hydrogen bond, while cytosine and guanine pairs with the 3 hydrogen bond. Okay, that is the important information here. Okay, adenine and thymine will be forming a bond via 2 hydrogen bond, while cytosine and thymine will be produced 3 hydrogen bonds. Okay, so this is what you can see. This is the DNA double helix is made up of 2 strands, as I said. Okay, here you can see this is a sugar and this is a phosphate. Okay, and this stick like thing, you can see that the DNA double helix, this is the bond. That is what I told you, so many hydrogen bonds, these are nitrogenous bases. Okay, and this rails made of sugars, okay, and phosphate, and this rung, this is known as rungs, that is made up of nitrogen bases. Okay, this is the double strand, and if you zoom this particular region, you will be able to get like this. Okay, this I have already told you. This is the sugar and the phosphate. Sugar phosphate back bond stabilized by strong covalent bond called a phosphodiester bond of one strand. Similarly, in the opposite direction, the other strand, this is orienting in this direction. This you can see, this oriented with the other direction, the opposite direction. Sugar phosphate, hand ray. Okay, so this direction it will go, and this direction it will come. Okay, and the bond between the phosphate and sugar is known as phosphodiester bond. The bond between the sugar and nitrogenous base, this one is the glycosidic linkage. And here you can see this adenine is a purine 2 ring. Okay, this is a 6-membered pyrimidine ring and 5-membered imidazole ring with the this is adenine, and this is in one strand, and this is the other strand, it is thymine. Therefore produced the 2 hydrogen bond. Okay, with the 2 hydrogen bond, that is known as a rung. Okay, here you can see the cytosine, there are 3 hydrogen bond. How perfectly that 3 hydrogen bond is produced. Okay, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Okay, the 2 strands are connected by hydrogen bond between the nucleotides, adenine and guanine, adenine and thymine by 2 hydrogen bond, guanine and cytosine by 3 hydrogen bond. Okay, and this is the hydrogen bonds that is commonly seen in the DNA. Okay, then in detail how these 2 hydrogen bonds are produced. If you go to the in detail about this structure, since it's biochemistry, you should know that. Okay, this is thymine. This you can see how just have arranged the geometry I have changed. This is a pyramidal ring. You know that always thymine has a 2 oxygen and 1 nitrogen here and 1 methyl group. Okay, 5-methyl uracil is known as thymine. Okay, this is thymine. And here you can see adenine. Adenine, you know that this is your nitrogen 5-membered ring, and here you can see nitrogen and NH2 group. Okay, NH2. So what will happen when thymine and adenine come closer? These two, how it is produced? Okay, so in this NH2, you can see one of the H will come here, and that will interact with the oxygen of the thymine that is freely available outside. Okay, there you can see O and H. OH bond, that is a hydrogen bond. And here you can see, here there is N, there is no double bond. In order to make the valency, here it is hydrogen, and this hydrogen N has 1 hydrogen, and that hydrogen will be interacted with this nitrogen. Okay, so that is the formation of a NH again, a hydrogen bond. This is hydrogen bond. This is also hydrogen bond. This is formulated by oxygen, and this is formulated by due to the nitrogen. Okay, this is N of this one with the O of this one. Okay, the H is from here and O is from this structure. Okay, and here N is from this structure, but H is from this N. Okay, so like that you can see this is one bond and this is another one. So then there is a formation of thymine double bond adenine. Okay, that is one important thing. So that is why you will be getting like this. Then how you will be getting a triple bond here? Okay, that you can see here. Here you are having your cytosine. Cytosine, as you all know, here it will be a pyrimidine. There is a nitrogen, and cytosine will be having what? Here double bond O, 1 NH2. Okay, this is the structure of cytosine. Just I have rearranged the structure. Just that's all. Okay, N here, NH2 here, O here. Okay, and here you can see in guanine. You can see if you exchange this one. This NH2 if you put here and this O if you put here, that will be guanine. Okay, here you can see double bond O and here NH. Okay, here NH2. Okay, O NH2. So how it is produced? And in this particular main case, here you can see in the cytosine there is an NH2, isn't it? And out of that NH2, one of the H in NH2 will be coming here, and that H will be interacted with this oxygen of this guanine. Okay, and there is a OH bond. What is that? Hydrogen bonding. Then the second one, in this particular case, here it is nitrogen that has got a, here there is no double bond. Obviously you will be having here one H. Okay, because there is no double bond here, there is no double bond here. Then what will happen? In order to make the valency 3, this N will acquire one H. That is already there for that. And here you can see this N, the valency is this is a proper. Okay, and this bond will go, and this N will be having a weak interaction with this hydrogen of a, okay, this particular hydrogen. Okay, so that particular hydrogen will be from this NH. Okay, that from guanine. This is the second bond. Okay, a nitrogen hydrogen bond, that is also hydrogen bond. The third one you can see here, oxygen here, and what is here? Since it is guanine, one more NH2 will be there, isn't it? In that NH2, one of the H from NH2, one of the H, the other H is here. Okay, the other H is here. Okay, and one of the NH2 will be coming and interacted with this particular oxygen. This oxygen of a cytosine and this H of a guanine. Okay, and there is also formation of a OH bond. What is that? Hydrogen bond. Okay, OH bond, NH bond, and NH bond. Okay, so this is hydrogen bond, hydrogen bond, hydrogen bond. 3 hydrogen bonds. You can see how perfectly these structures are arranging, and that is why you are getting like this. Okay, like this. Okay, so that is what you are. You can see C triple bond G. Okay, 3 triple bond G, and this is very stronger than this one because double bond is weaker than triple bond, because if you wanted to break the bond you need to spend a lot of energy than the double bond. So that is why triple bond is very important. Okay, and the DNA of this is very important. The GC content, the G and C content is very important in the case of microbiology, because if you look some of the organisms like archaeobacteria, the G plus C content is very high. That is one of the reasons they are able to survive in the extreme condition. Okay, so that is what I wanted to tell you. Okay, so this is the next important thing. Then next one, we are going to see the next type of interaction. This is again a weak interaction, base stacking interaction. Okay, the base stacking interactions are mainly 3 types. One is hydrophobic effect, next one is van der Waals forces, next one is ionic interaction. The first one and third one are very rare, but the second one is very common. Okay, that is van der Waals forces. How it is happening? The nitrogenous base stacked upon one another are spaced based on their van der Waals distance. Okay, this van der Waals distance is the distance at which 2 molecules are attracted to each other. Okay, one is top and another one is bottom. There is a small distance, although there is a distance, and this particular things are placed in a van der Waals distance. Although this van der Waals distance are there, a single van der Waals interaction has very small effect on the overall structure of the DNA, but so many van der Waals interaction, okay, effect of several interaction leads to a substantial stability to the DNA molecule. Okay, and this is known as a van der Waals interaction, commonly known as base stacking. Okay, and that is mainly due to the vertical. You can see this is what I have told. This we have discussed, phosphodiester bond, 5' to 3' one direction. This is the glycosidic linkage. These are hydrogen bonds. And what is the next one? This one and this one. Okay, you can see the planar ring. Okay, the ribose ring. I told you the structures are not proper. They are little bit down. Okay, and this conformational change in the ribose ring is known as ribose puckering. Okay, so here you can see the ribose puckering. Okay, here you can see this is the case of ribose. Okay, and but I am talking about this nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous base doesn't have that puckering, so this nitrogenous base is attached here, and here this nitrogenous base is here. Okay, and this nitrogenous base has an N. This one also has an N, because these two are placed in a closer. Okay, like these are closer, these are closer, these are closer. Okay, there is a small van der Waals radii. Okay, that is why this is interacted each other. Okay, and that is known as a base stacking. That is due to what? The vertical bases. Thus it is known as a vertical base stacking, and that is also due to the aromatic ring. Okay, 6-membered rings. Okay, that is why it is known as aromatic base stacking. That is mainly due to the nitrogen. Okay, thus it is known as nitrogen stacking. All the terms are the same. Okay, here you can see a closer one. I told you this is the adenine, this is thymine. It produces 2 hydrogen bond. This is a normal thing. And here you can see guanine and cytosine. Adenine and thymine, there is hydrogen bond, but adenine and guanine, you can see this nitrogen and this are exactly below. Okay, exactly below, and this nitrogen and this nitrogen, they are having a weak interaction. And what will happen? Due to this particular interaction, they try to repel each other. Okay, this nitrogen is having a lone pair, this one also having a lone pair, this has got a lone pair, this has got a lone pair. What will happen? Due to this particular lone pair, they will try to tilt each other. Okay, they'll try to tilt. Okay, although this is an interaction, they'll try to tilt each other. Okay, due to this tilting, this DNA, the shift and tilting of this particular nitrogen from this one with this one and this one with this one, and so on, will be give the DNA is a typical spiral double helical structure. Okay, here you can see typical. Why this is twisted, highly twisted? Okay, because the nitrogen, due to this nitrogen, they are trying to be away. Okay, this is due to the nitrogen ring, they are coming one by one. Okay, one below the another. Okay, they wanted to be far apart. Due to that particular reason, the tilt will give you a spiral double helical in nature. Okay, the major reason for the spiral double helical nature of the DNA is that is due to the base stacking features. So this is all about the base stacking. Here B1, this B2, B1 and B2, one is adenine, another one is thymine, hydrogen bond. Then B3 and B4, guanine and cytosine, they are triple bond. As I said, you can see the bonding. Okay, but here at the same time, this two, there is a bond. Okay, there is a strong interaction. Why? Due to the presence of the aromatic ring, they are coming like this. Okay, the nitrogen, they have a lone pair. Nitrogen, they are having a lone pair, and they are nitrogen and nitrogen will come closer. They will try to repel. Okay, they each other, and they will move far away. That leads to the helical like structure to the DNA. So this is all about the base stacking. So this is all about the major things, dear students. So once again we can conclude, we can glance through what are the main points studied in this particular class. We have discussed introduction to covalent structures. Okay, and this is covalent structures are the DNA that is stabilized by covalent interactions. Okay, the major forces. Okay, the major forces that stabilizes the DNA, there are strong and weak forces. Okay, then there are one is a phosphodiester bond, next one is glycosidic linkage. They are strong bond, mainly covalent in nature. Then next one, the weak force. Okay, that is the hydrogen bonding and the aromatic or nitrogen or vertical stacking. Then the backbone of both the DNA and RNA we have discussed. DNA has the single stranded, okay, with the sugar phosphate backbone stabilized by adenine, guanine, thymine, adenine, guanine, uracil and cytosine instead of thymine, but DNA is adenine, guanine and thymine, cytosine. And the covalent bonds in DNA, the phosphodiester bond, this is a major covalent interaction. Somebody asked, what is the covalent structure? You should talk about the phosphodiester bond. Okay, how the phosphodiester bond is produced, formation of covalent bond, phosphodiester bond, how it is produced. Then in addition to, we should talk, actually in our topic is this one, but I have told about one more strong bond, glycosidic linkage. Then due to the glycosidic, there are two types of the linkage between sugar and nitrogenous base, that is known as glycosidic linkage. Then that is due to two types of structure, that is syn and anti-conformation. Okay, if both the bases, nitrogen, the pyrimidine, the nitrogen 6-membered rings of purine and the 6-membered rings of the pyrimidine, okay, they are in the sugar, okay, the 5-membered sugar rings, they are one below the another, then it will be syn. If it is an opposite, okay, that is anti. This is due to the rotational of the bond rotation. Okay, then we have discussed the hydrogen bond. Okay, complementary base pairing rule. Adenine pairs with the thymine with the 2 hydrogen bond, and guanine pairs with the cytosine with the 3 hydrogen bond. That is known as the complementary base pairing rule, which are very, very specific. And how the formation of hydrogen bonds, okay, how double bond is produced in detailed structure we have seen, and how triple bond is produced. And we have discussed base stacking, that is a very weak interaction like hydrogen bonding, and that is how it is happening, and why DNA is a typical spiral double helical structure. Why there is a helical like fashion? The reason is base stacking. Okay, these are known as vertical stacking or aromatic stacking or nitrogen stacking. All things are the same. Okay, this is all things, dear students. So these are the main textbooks. You can refer Principles of Biochemistry by Leninger, very good textbook. Biochemistry by J.L. Jain, okay, on all other reference book you can refer. So thank you very much for listening this particular class. Okay, so thanks a lot for listening this particular class. We will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much.